Pregnant and alone, Amelia was left behind on the trail with nothing but her worn dress and a few supplies. The wagon train continued on, abandoning her to face the unknown wilderness. No support, no provisions, just endless trees and silence. She sat by the fire, ready to surrender to despair. But then, from the shadows, a Shawnee hunter emerged, calm, strong, and watching her intently. She thought her journey had ended. But fate had another plan. Before we begin, tell us where you're watching from and subscribe if you believe that strength can be found in the most unexpected places. Amelia Walters sat on the edge of the wagon, her eyes scanning the horizon. The sun was setting, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink. It was beautiful, but Amelia felt uneasy. The wagon train moved slowly, each wheel creaking under the weight of their belongings. Amelia was pregnant. Her belly was round and heavy, a constant reminder of the life she carried. She felt the baby move, a soft flutter against her hand. It was comforting but also filled her with worry. She was alone among the settlers even though she was surrounded by people. Her husband had died the winter before, leaving her with nothing but memories and the child inside her. The journey west was hard. The trail was rough and unforgiving. Every bump in the road sent a jolt through her body, and she held on tightly to the side of the wagon. The other settlers were busy with their own tasks. They talked and laughed together, but Amelia was not part of their circle. She heard their whispers, saw their glances when they thought she wasn't looking. They called her a bad omen, a bringer of bad luck. Amelia remembered the day she joined the wagon train. She had been desperate to leave the town where everyone knew her story. The whispers started when her husband died. They grew louder when she decided to travel alone. The townspeople said she was cursed, that the death of her husband was her fault. She tried to ignore them, but the words followed her like shadows. Now, on the road to the unknown, the whispers had followed her again. The settlers did not trust her. She was an outsider, different from them. Her pregnancy made them uneasy. Some said it was not right for a woman in her condition to travel. Others said the child would bring misfortune. Amelia kept to herself, trying to stay out of their way. As the days passed, the tension among the settlers grew. The trail was long and resources were running low. Tempers flared over small things, lost supplies, broken wheels, the constant dust that choked the air. Amelia tried to help where she could, but her efforts were often met with silence or suspicion. She felt the weight of their judgment, heavy as the child she carried. One evening, as they set up camp, Amelia sat alone by the fire. Her thoughts drifted to her husband, to the life they had planned together. It was supposed to be different. They had dreams of a farm, a place to call home. But now she was on a journey to a place she could not imagine, surrounded by people who saw her as a threat. The fire crackled and popped, sending sparks into the night sky. Amelia watched them rise and disappear, wondering if her dreams had vanished the same way. She felt the baby kick again, a reminder that she was not truly alone. She placed her hand on her belly, feeling the life within her. It gave her strength, a reason to keep going. The next morning, the wagon train prepared to move again. Amelia felt the unease in the air, a tension that seemed to grow with each passing day. She heard snippets of conversation, whispers about bad luck and misfortune. She knew they were talking about her. The settlers were afraid, and fear made people do cruel things. As they traveled, the terrain became more challenging. The path narrowed, and the wagons had to move carefully to avoid rocks and deep ruts. Amelia held on tightly, feeling every jolt and bump. She closed her eyes, trying to block out the discomfort, focusing instead on the rhythm of the wagon, the steady clop of hooves. But the whispers did not stop. They grew louder, more insistent. Amelia heard them in the quiet moments when the train stopped for water or rest. They spoke of bad luck, of danger and doom. They said the train would never reach its destination with her aboard. It was superstition, she knew, but it did not make their words less painful. Amelia tried to keep her head down, to avoid drawing attention. But it was hard to hide a swollen belly, hard to ignore the stares and whispers. She felt the isolation keenly, a wall between her and the others that seemed to grow taller each day. The leader of the wagon train, a stern man named Mr. Collins, had been kind to her at first. He had allowed her to join the train when others said no. But even his patience was wearing thin. She could see it in the way he looked at her, a mix of pity and frustration. She knew he was under pressure, that he had to keep the peace among the settlers. One afternoon, as the sun beat down on the dusty trail, the train came to a stop. Mr. Collins called a meeting, his voice carrying over the noise of the camp. Amelia watched from a distance, her heart pounding. She knew what was coming. She could feel it in the air, a storm of fear and suspicion ready to break. The settlers gathered around Mr. Collins, their faces tense and serious. Amelia stayed where she was, not wanting to intrude. But she could hear the voices, the accusations and demands. They wanted her gone. They said she was the reason for their troubles, that her presence was a curse. Amelia felt a chill run through her despite the heat. She wanted to speak, to defend herself, but the words would not come. She was alone, surrounded by a sea of hostile faces. She felt the baby move inside her, a reminder of what she stood to lose. Mr. Collins tried to calm the crowd, his voice rising above the chaos. But the settlers were not listening. Fear had taken hold and it was not easily shaken. Amelia watched as the argument continued, her mind racing. She had nowhere to go, no one to turn to. The thought of being left behind, alone and pregnant, filled her with terror. Finally, Mr. Collins raised his hands, calling for silence. The crowd quieted, but the tension remained. He spoke to them, his voice firm but resigned. Amelia could not hear every word, but she understood enough. They had made their decision. She was to be left behind. Amelia felt the ground shift beneath her, a dizzying sense of unreality. She wanted to cry out, to beg for mercy, but she knew it would do no good. The settlers had made up their minds. She was a threat, a danger to their journey. Her heart ached with fear and betrayal, but there was nothing she could do. As the sun set, the wagon train prepared to move on. Amelia stood alone, watching as they packed their belongings as if she were already a ghost. She felt the baby kick, a small, insistent reminder of life. She placed her hand on her belly, drawing strength from the tiny movements. When the train finally left, the sound of hooves and wheels faded into the distance. Amelia stood there, alone in the wilderness, clutching her swollen belly. She felt the tears come, hot and unwelcome. But she did not let them fall. She would not give the settlers the satisfaction of seeing her break. Instead, she turned away, facing the vast expanse of land that stretched before her. She would have to find a way to survive. For herself and for the child she carried. She took a deep breath, steadying herself. She was alone, but she was not defeated. She would find a way. She had to. The night air was cold as Amelia stood alone, the wagon train now just a distant memory. The settlers had moved on, leaving her with nothing but the clothes on her back and the baby in her belly. She felt a deep ache inside, a mix of fear and sadness. But she knew she had to focus. Her survival depended on it. Amelia looked around, taking in her surroundings. The forest loomed dark and silent, the trees casting long shadows in the moonlight. She needed shelter, a place to rest and gather her thoughts. Her body was tired, each step feeling heavier than the last. She could not afford to waste time, but she also knew she had to be careful. She walked slowly, her feet crunching on leaves and twigs. Her eyes scanned the ground for any sign of a safe place to stay. After some time, she found a small clearing, surrounded by tall trees. It wasn't much, but it would have to do. She gathered some fallen branches and leaves, creating a makeshift bed. It was rough and uncomfortable, but it was better than nothing. Amelia lay down, trying to ignore the chill that seeped through her clothes. She wrapped her arms around her belly, feeling the gentle movements of the baby. It was a small comfort, reminding her she was not entirely alone. Her eyes grew heavy, exhaustion taking over. She closed them, hoping for a few hours of rest. The night was long, filled with strange sounds and rustling in the underbrush. Amelia woke several times, her heart pounding with each unfamiliar noise. But nothing came near, and as dawn broke, she finally allowed herself to relax a little. The morning light brought a sense of hope, however small. She could see her surroundings more clearly now, and she knew she had to keep moving. As she prepared to leave the clearing, a sharp pain shot through her abdomen. She gasped, clutching her belly. It was a reminder of how vulnerable she was, alone in the wilderness. But she couldn't let fear paralyze her. She pushed the pain aside, forcing herself to focus on the task at hand. Amelia knew she needed food and water. She followed the sound of a nearby stream, the babbling water a welcome relief. Kneeling by the bank, she cupped her hands and drank, the cool liquid soothing her dry throat. It wasn't much, but it helped clear her mind. Finding food was more challenging. She searched for berries and edible plants, relying on what little knowledge she had. It was slow going, but she managed to find enough to sustain her for the day. It wasn't much, but it was enough to keep her moving. The forest seemed endless, each step taking her further into the unknown. Amelia kept a steady pace, aware of the weight of her growing belly. The baby moved often, little kicks and flutters that reminded her of her responsibility. She had to stay strong for both of them. As the day wore on, Amelia's thoughts drifted back to the settlers. She replayed the events of the previous day, the fear in their eyes, the accusations whispered behind her back. It hurt to think about how easily they had turned against her. But she couldn't dwell on it. She had to focus on the present, on survival. The sun was high in the sky when Amelia stopped to rest. She found another clearing, this one with a large rock that provided some shade. She sat down, leaning back against the cool surface. Her body ached, the strain of the journey taking its toll. But she couldn't stop. She had to keep moving, keep searching for a safe place to stay. As she rested, a noise caught her attention. It was faint at first, a soft rustling in the bushes nearby. Amelia froze, her heart pounding in her chest. She strained her ears, trying to determine the source of the sound. It grew louder, the rustling turning into footsteps. Amelia's breath caught in her throat as a figure emerged from the trees. A man, tall and lean, with dark hair and piercing eyes. He was dressed in simple clothing, a bough slung across his back. His gaze met hers, and for a moment they simply stared at each other. Fear gripped Amelia, but she couldn't move. The man took a cautious step forward, his expression unreadable. She wanted to run, to hide, but her body refused to obey. Instead, she watched as he approached, his movements slow and deliberate. The man stopped a few feet away, his eyes never leaving hers. Amelia felt a mix of fear and curiosity. He didn't look like a settler, and she wondered who he was. Her heart raced, her mind scrambling for answers. But before she could speak, the man held up a hand, a gesture of peace. Amelia hesitated, unsure of what to do. But there was something in his eyes, a kindness that eased her fear. She nodded, letting her guard down just a little. The man seemed to understand, his posture relaxing. He gestured to the forest, his movements slow and careful. Amelia watched, trying to make sense of his intentions. He pointed to the stream, then mimed drinking water. She realized he was offering to help, to guide her to a safe place. Relief washed over her, mixed with uncertainty. She didn't know this man, didn't know if she could trust him. But she had little choice. Alone in the wilderness, she needed all the help she could get. She nodded again, indicating her willingness to follow. The man turned, leading her through the forest. Amelia kept pace, her eyes scanning their surroundings. He moved with a quiet confidence, his steps sure and steady. She marveled at his ease in the wilderness, his familiarity with the land. They walked in silence, the only sound the rustle of leaves underfoot. Amelia's mind was a whirlwind of thoughts and questions. Who was this man? Why was he helping her? She wanted to ask, but the words wouldn't come. Instead, she focused on putting one foot in front of the other, on following his lead. As the sun began to set, they arrived at a small clearing. It was sheltered by trees, with a stream running nearby. The man gestured for her to sit, and she did, grateful for the chance to rest. Her body ached, exhaustion pulling at her limbs. The man busied himself with gathering wood, his movements efficient and practiced. Amelia watched, her curiosity growing. He worked quickly, building a fire with ease. The flames flickered to life, casting a warm glow over the clearing. Amelia felt a sense of safety settle over her, a feeling she hadn't experienced in days. She watched the man as he settled beside the fire, his eyes meeting hers. There was a question in his gaze, a silent inquiry. She nodded, letting him know she was all right. As the night grew darker, the man offered her food. It was simple fare, but Amelia was grateful. She ate slowly, savoring each bite. The man watched her, his expression thoughtful. She felt a connection forming, a silent understanding that transcended words. Amelia knew she should be wary, but there was something about him that put her at ease. She felt a flicker of hope, a sense that maybe she wasn't as alone as she had thought. The man's presence was a comfort, a reminder that there was still kindness in the world. As the fire crackled and the stars appeared overhead, Amelia allowed herself to relax. She lay back, the ground hard beneath her, but the warmth of the fire keeping the chill at bay. Her eyes grew heavy, the exhaustion of the day finally catching up with her. The man watched over her, his presence a silent promise of safety. Amelia drifted off to sleep, her mind filled with dreams of the journey ahead. She didn't know what the future held, but she felt a sense of peace, a belief that she would find her way. For the first time in days, she slept soundly, the fear and uncertainty of the past fading into the background. The forest was still, the night air cool and gentle. And as Amelia slept, she felt the stirrings of hope, a quiet reassurance that she was not alone. The morning light filtered through the trees, casting dappled shadows on the ground. Amelia awoke to the sound of birds singing and the gentle rustle of leaves. She blinked, momentarily disoriented, before the events of the previous day came rushing back. The stranger, the fire, the sense of safety she had felt. The man was already awake, tending to the fire. He glanced over as she stirred, giving a small nod of acknowledgement. Amelia sat up, rubbing the sleep from her eyes. She felt a stiffness in her limbs, the result of travel and stress. But there was also a sense of calm, a quiet assurance that she was not alone. She watched the man as he worked, his movements deliberate and confident. He seemed at ease in the wilderness, a stark contrast to her uncertainty. Amelia marveled at his skill, at the way he moved through the forest as if it were an extension of himself. She realized she knew nothing about him, not even his name. Yet he had helped her when no one else would. The man gestured toward a small bundle of food, offering it to her. Amelia accepted with a grateful nod, the simple meal satisfying her hunger. As she ate, she studied him, trying to understand the silent language they shared. They had not spoken, yet there was a connection, an unspoken bond that tied them together. Amelia wanted to ask him questions, to learn more about the stranger who had shown her kindness. But she hesitated, unsure of how to bridge the gap between them. The silence stretched, comfortable yet filled with unspoken words. After breakfast, the man indicated they should continue moving. Amelia understood, rising to her feet with a wince. Her body was sore, but the rest had done her good. She followed him through the forest, matching her pace to his. The path was narrow, the trees closing in around them. Amelia felt a sense of wonder as they walked, the forest alive with sounds and movement. She had never noticed the beauty of nature before, too caught up in her own struggles. But now, with the man's guidance, she saw the world anew. The man led her to a small stream, the water clear and inviting. Amelia knelt by the bank, grateful for the chance to wash. She splashed her face with water, the coolness refreshing her senses. The man watched her, his expression thoughtful, as if weighing some unspoken decision. As they continued their journey, Amelia noticed subtle changes in their surroundings. The air was cooler, the trees taller and more densely packed. She sensed they were moving deeper into the forest, away from the paths trodden by settlers. A part of her felt apprehensive, but she trusted the man. He had shown her nothing but kindness, and she had no reason to doubt him. They walked in silence, the forest a constant companion. Amelia's mind wandered, her thoughts drifting back to the settlers who had abandoned her. She felt a pang of anger and grief, but it was tempered by the presence of the man beside her. He had given her hope, a chance to start anew. As the sun climbed higher, they paused to rest. The man indicated a log, and Amelia sat, her legs grateful for the reprieve. He settled across from her, his gaze steady and calm. Amelia felt a sudden urge to speak, to break the silence that had settled between them. She pointed to herself, saying her name slowly. "Amelia," she said, hoping he would understand. The man watched her, his eyes thoughtful. Then he nodded, pointing to himself. "Nikan," he said, his voice low and clear. Amelia repeated his name, savoring the sound. It was a small victory, a bridge between their worlds. She smiled, feeling the tension ease. Nikan returned her smile, a brief flash of warmth that lit up his face. With introductions made, Amelia felt a shift in their relationship. The silence was no longer heavy, but filled with a sense of understanding. They were two people, different yet united by circumstance, each finding solace in the other's presence. As they continued their journey, Amelia found herself growing more comfortable in Nikan's company. He was patient, guiding her through the forest with quiet confidence. She watched him closely, learning from his actions. He showed her how to find food, pointing out edible plants and berries. She marveled at his knowledge, his ability to live in harmony with the land. Amelia felt a growing sense of gratitude, a deep appreciation for Nikan's help. She wondered about his life, about the path that had brought him to her. But she did not ask. Instead, she tried to show her thanks through her actions, helping where she could, sharing what little she had. As the days passed, Amelia and Nikan settled into a routine. They traveled during the day, resting when needed. At night, they camped under the stars, the fire a comforting presence. Amelia found herself looking forward to these moments, the quiet companionship they shared. One evening, as they sat by the fire, Nikan began to speak. His words were slow, carefully chosen, as he shared stories of his people. Amelia listened, captivated by the tales of courage and resilience. She felt a connection to his stories, recognizing the same spirit in herself. In return, Amelia shared her own story, her voice halting and uncertain. She spoke of her husband, of the life they had planned together. She told Nikan about the settlers, about the fear and suspicion that had led to her abandonment. It was painful to relive, but she felt lighter for having shared it. Nikan listened without judgment, his eyes filled with understanding. Amelia found comfort in his presence, in the knowledge that she was not alone. They were two souls, each with their own burdens, finding solace in each other's company. As the fire burned low, Amelia felt a sense of peace. She had found a friend in Nikan, a companion in her journey. The forest no longer felt daunting, but a place of refuge and healing. She knew the road ahead would not be easy, but she felt stronger, more resilient. Amelia lay back, staring up at the stars. They were bright and clear, a tapestry of light in the darkness. She felt the baby move, a gentle nudge that brought a smile to her lips. She placed a hand on her belly, feeling the life within. Nikan watched her, his expression soft and kind. Amelia met his gaze, a silent thank you in her eyes. She knew she could not have come this far without him. He had given her more than just companionship, he had given her hope. As sleep claimed her, Amelia felt a quiet certainty. She would find her way with Nikan by her side. Together, they would face whatever challenges lay ahead. And in the end, she would create a new life, a new beginning for herself and her child. The night was still, the forest a gentle lullaby. Amelia slept, her dreams filled with possibilities and promise. She had been lost, but now she was found. With Nikan's help, she would build a future, one step at a time. The days turned into weeks as Amelia and Nikan continued their journey through the forest. The landscape became familiar, each path and stream a part of their shared world. Amelia felt herself growing stronger, both in body and spirit. The forest was no longer a place of fear, but of healing and renewal. Nikan taught Amelia how to live in harmony with the land. He showed her which plants were safe to eat and how to find fresh water. Amelia learned to track animals, to recognize their paths and habits. It was a new way of seeing the world, one that filled her with appreciation and respect. As Amelia grew more comfortable in the wilderness, her trust in Nikan deepened. They communicated through gestures and simple words, their bond growing stronger with each day. Amelia felt a sense of belonging she had not known since before her husband's death. She was part of something larger, a connection that transcended her past. Nikan was patient, his guidance steady and sure. He seemed to understand her needs, anticipating her questions before she could ask. Amelia admired his quiet strength, the way he moved through the world with confidence and grace. She felt safe with him, a feeling she had almost forgotten. One morning, as the sun filtered through the trees, Amelia awoke to find Nikan already tending to the fire. The familiar routine brought her comfort, a sense of normalcy in an uncertain world. She stretched, feeling the ache in her muscles, a reminder of the miles they had traveled. After breakfast, they set out once more, the forest alive with the sounds of birds and rustling leaves. Amelia followed Nikan, her steps sure and steady. She felt the baby move, a gentle reminder of her journey's purpose. It was a comfort, a sign that she was on the right path. As they walked, Amelia thought about the changes she had experienced. She was no longer the frightened woman abandoned by the settlers. She had found strength in herself, a resilience she had not known she possessed. Nikan's guidance had shown her a new way of living, one that embraced the present and let go of the past. The trail led them to a small clearing, a place they had visited before. Nikan stopped, indicating they should rest. Amelia sat on a fallen log, grateful for the break. Her thoughts drifted back to the settlers, to the life she had left behind. It was a distant memory now, a chapter that had closed. Nikan sat beside her, his presence a calming influence. Amelia glanced at him, a question in her eyes. She wanted to know more about him, about the life he had led before their paths crossed. But she hesitated, unsure if it was her place to ask. Sensing her curiosity, Nikan began to speak. He shared stories of his people, of their traditions and way of life. Amelia listened, captivated by the tales of community and resilience. She felt a connection to his words, a recognition of the values they shared. In return, Amelia spoke of her own past, of the dreams she had once held. She talked about her husband, about the plans they had made for their future. It was bittersweet, but sharing her story brought a sense of closure. She was no longer defined by her loss, but by her strength. As the sun dipped below the horizon, they fell into a comfortable silence. The fire crackled, sending sparks into the night sky. Amelia felt a sense of peace, a quiet contentment that filled her heart. She was no longer alone, but part of a shared journey. That night, as they lay under the stars, Amelia felt the baby kick. It was a strong, insistent movement, a reminder of the life growing inside her. She placed a hand on her belly, feeling the connection to her child. It was a bond that gave her strength, a reminder of her purpose. Nikan watched her, his gaze warm and reassuring. Amelia met his eyes, a silent thank you in her expression. She knew she could not have come this far without him. His kindness had given her hope, a chance to start anew. The next day, they continued their journey, the forest a familiar companion. Amelia felt a new sense of purpose, a determination to build a future for herself and her child. She was no longer a passive observer but an active participant in her own life. As they traveled, Amelia found herself growing more adept at the skills Nikan had taught her. She could find food and water, navigate the forest with confidence. It was empowering, a reminder of her resilience and adaptability. Nikan's presence was a constant source of support, his patience and understanding a balm to her soul. Amelia felt a deep gratitude, a sense of connection that transcended words. They were two people from different worlds, yet they had found common ground. One afternoon, as they paused by a stream, Nikan gestured for Amelia to join him. He showed her how to create a simple trap for catching fish, his hands deftly weaving the materials. Amelia watched closely, eager to learn. Following his lead, she set the trap in the water, feeling a sense of accomplishment. It was a small victory, but it filled her with pride. She was learning, growing, becoming more self-reliant with each passing day. As they sat by the stream, waiting for the trap to yield its bounty, Amelia felt a sense of peace. The forest was quiet, the air filled with the scent of pine and earth. She closed her eyes, savoring the moment, the knowledge that she was not alone. When the trap finally caught a fish, Amelia felt a surge of joy. It was a tangible sign of her progress, a reminder of how far she had come. Nikan smiled, his approval evident in his eyes. Amelia felt a warmth spread through her, a sense of belonging that filled her heart. As the sun set, they returned to their camp, the fish a welcome addition to their meal. Amelia felt a deep sense of gratitude, not just for the food, but for Nikan's guidance and companionship. He had given her more than she could ever repay, a gift of hope and healing. That night, as they sat by the fire, Amelia felt the baby move again. It was a strong, steady rhythm, a promise of the life to come. She placed a hand on her belly, feeling the connection to her child, the bond that would carry her forward. Nikan watched her, his expression thoughtful and kind. Amelia felt a surge of emotion, a realization of how much he meant to her. He was more than a guide, more than a friend. He was a part of her journey, a part of her future. As the stars shone brightly above, Amelia felt a sense of peace. She had found a new path, a new beginning. With Nikan by her side, she would face whatever challenges lay ahead. Together, they would build a life, one filled with hope and promise. The days grew longer as summer settled over the land. Amelia and Nikan continued their journey, each step bringing them closer to an unknown future. The forest was alive with color and sound, a vibrant backdrop to their travels. Amelia felt a deep sense of peace, a connection to the world around her. As she walked beside Nikan, Amelia marveled at how much had changed. The fear and uncertainty that had once gripped her were now distant memories. She was stronger, more confident in her abilities. Nikan had taught her well. His guidance a steady presence in her life. Their bond had deepened. A friendship forged through shared experiences and mutual respect. Amelia found herself looking forward to their conversations. The quiet moments they shared by the fire. Nikan listened without judgment. His calm presence a comfort to her soul. Amelia felt a growing appreciation for the land, for the beauty and bounty it offered. She had learned to see the world through Nikan's eyes, to understand the wisdom of living in harmony with nature. It was a lesson she cherished, a way of life that had given her purpose. As they traveled, Amelia felt the baby move often, a constant reminder of the new life she carried. She placed a protective hand on her belly, feeling the gentle kicks and flutters. It was a bond that filled her with joy, a promise of the future she was building. One morning, as they walked along a sun-dappled path, Nikan paused, his gaze fixed on something in the distance. Amelia followed his line of sight, spotting a deer grazing peacefully among the trees. It was a serene moment, a reminder of the harmony that existed in the natural world. Nikan motioned for Amelia to stay quiet, his movements careful and deliberate. He slowly reached for his bow, his eyes never leaving the deer. Amelia watched, her heart pounding with a mix of anticipation and awe. With a steady hand, Nikan aimed and released the arrow. It flew true, striking the deer with precision. The animal fell, its life ending swiftly and without suffering. Amelia felt a pang of sadness, but also gratitude for the sustenance it would provide. Together, they approached the fallen deer, Nikan offering a silent prayer of thanks. Amelia watched, feeling a deep respect for the cycle of life and death. It was a lesson in humility, a reminder of their place in the world. Nikan showed Amelia how to prepare the deer, his movements efficient and respectful. She assisted where she could, eager to learn. It was hard work but satisfying, a reminder of the skills she had gained. Together, they gathered what they needed, leaving the forest as undisturbed as possible. As they cooked the meat over the fire that evening, Amelia felt a sense of accomplishment. She had contributed to their survival, a partner in their journey. Nikan's quiet approval filled her with pride, a validation of her efforts. Their meal was a feast, the fruits of their labor shared in companionable silence. Amelia savored each bite, the flavors rich and satisfying. It was more than just food, it was a testament to their resilience, their ability to thrive in the wilderness. As the fire burned low, Amelia and Nikan sat side by side, watching the stars appear overhead. The night was clear, the sky a canvas of twinkling lights. Amelia felt a sense of wonder, a connection to the universe that stretched far beyond her understanding. She turned to Nikan, a question forming in her mind. She wanted to know more about his people, about the life he had left behind. But she hesitated, unsure if it was a subject he wished to discuss. Sensing her curiosity, Nikan began to speak. His voice was soft, his words chosen with care. He spoke of his family, of the village where he had grown up. Amelia listened, captivated by the stories of community and tradition. Nikan's people were connected to the land, living in harmony with nature. They valued wisdom and resilience, the strength found in unity. Amelia felt a kinship with his stories, recognizing the values they shared. In return, Amelia spoke of her own past, her voice steady and clear. She talked about her childhood, about the dreams she had once held. It was a bittersweet journey through memory, but sharing it brought her peace. Nikan listened with empathy, his understanding a balm to her soul. Amelia felt a sense of closure, a release of the burdens she had carried for so long. She was no longer defined by her past, but by the strength she had found. As the night wore on, Amelia felt a growing sense of contentment. She was no longer just surviving, she was living, thriving in a world she had once feared. Nikan had given her the tools to succeed, a gift she would always treasure. One afternoon, as they rested by a stream, Amelia asked Nikan to teach her how to use a bow. It was a skill she admired, one that symbolized independence and strength. Nikan agreed, his eyes filled with approval. He showed her the basics, his movements slow and deliberate. Amelia watched closely, eager to learn. She took the bow in her hands, feeling its weight and balance. It was a challenge, but one she was determined to master. With Nikan's guidance, Amelia practiced, her confidence growing with each attempt. She learned to steady her breath, to focus on her target. It was hard work, but she relished the challenge, the sense of empowerment it brought. As the days passed, Amelia's skills improved. She could hit a target with increasing accuracy, her movements fluid and confident. It was a tangible sign of her progress, a reminder of her resilience and determination. Nikan watched her with pride, his quiet encouragement a constant source of support. Amelia felt a deep gratitude, a sense of connection that filled her heart. She was no longer alone, but part of a partnership built on trust and respect. As they traveled, Amelia felt a new sense of purpose, a determination to build a future for herself and her child. She was no longer defined by the whispers of the past, but by the strength she had found in herself. Together, she and Nikan faced each day with hope and resilience, their bond growing stronger with each challenge they overcame. Amelia knew the road ahead would not always be easy, but she was ready. With Nikan by her side, she could face whatever the future held. As the sun set on another day, Amelia felt a quiet certainty. She had found her place in the world, a path that was uniquely her own. With Nikan's help, she would continue to build a life filled with promise and possibility. The forest was alive with the sounds of evening, a gentle lullaby that soothed her soul. As Amelia drifted off to sleep, she felt the stirrings of hope, a quiet assurance that she was exactly where she needed to be. Amelia and Nikan continued their journey through the forest, each day bringing new challenges and discoveries. The land was familiar now, a place of refuge and belonging. Amelia felt at home, her fears replaced by a quiet confidence. She had learned much from Nikan, his guidance a steady presence in her life. As they traveled, Amelia thought often of the future, of the life she was building for herself and her child. She felt a deep sense of purpose, a determination to create a world filled with hope and possibility. It was a vision that guided her steps, a promise she held close to her heart. One morning, as they walked along a shaded path, Nikan paused, his expression alert. Amelia followed his gaze, spotting a column of smoke rising in the distance. Her heart skipped a beat, a mix of fear and curiosity filling her mind. Smoke meant people, but she couldn't be sure if it was friend or foe. Nikan gestured for her to stay quiet, his demeanor serious. Amelia nodded, understanding the need for caution. They moved carefully, keeping to the shadows as they approached the source of the smoke. It was a tense moment, the unknown stretching before them like a chasm. As they drew closer, the sounds of voices reached their ears, indistinct but unmistakable. Amelia felt a chill run down her spine, memories of the settlers flooding back. She took a deep breath, steadying herself. She was not the same woman she had been. She was stronger now, more resilient. Nikan led the way, his movements careful and deliberate. Amelia followed, her senses alert to any sign of danger. They crept through the underbrush, the smoke growing thicker as they neared the camp. The voices were clearer now, the words sharp and filled with tension. Amelia's heart pounded in her chest as they peered through the trees. A group of settlers was gathered around a fire, their expressions grim and determined. Amelia recognized some of the faces, members of the wagon train that had abandoned her. Her stomach clenched, a mix of anger and fear rising within her. Nikan placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder, his presence a calming influence. Amelia took a deep breath, her mind racing. She knew they had to be careful to avoid drawing attention to themselves. The settlers were here for a reason, and she had no doubt it involved her. As they watched, one of the settlers spoke, his voice carrying on the wind. He was a tall man, his posture commanding. Amelia recognized him as Mr. Collins, the leader of the wagon train. His words were filled with suspicion and fear, a stark reminder of the prejudice that had led to her abandonment. Amelia listened, her heart heavy with the weight of their accusations. They spoke of bad luck, of the need to ensure she was truly gone. It was a chilling reminder of the power of fear, of the lengths people would go to in order to protect themselves. Nikan's grip on her shoulder tightened, a silent reminder of the need for caution. Amelia nodded, her resolve hardening. She would not let fear dictate her actions, not again. She had come too far, learned too much to be cowed by their words. Together, they retreated into the forest, the sounds of the settlers fading behind them. Amelia's mind raced, a plan forming in her mind. They had to act to protect themselves from the threat posed by the settlers. It was a daunting task, but one she faced with determination. Nikan and Amelia found a safe place to regroup, their breaths coming in steady puffs of air. Amelia looked at Nikan, her eyes filled with resolve. They needed a plan, a way to ensure their safety without resorting to violence. It was a challenge, but one she was ready to face. Nikan listened as Amelia outlined her thoughts, his expression thoughtful. They needed to confront the settlers, to show them she was not a threat. It was a risky move, but Amelia believed it was the right one. She had learned to trust her instincts, to listen to the voice of reason over fear. As they discussed their options, Amelia felt a sense of clarity. She knew what she had to do, the steps she needed to take. It was a moment of realization, a turning point in her journey. She was no longer a victim, but a woman in control of her destiny. With Nikan's support, Amelia prepared to face the settlers. She felt a deep sense of gratitude for his presence, his unwavering belief in her strength. Together, they would show the settlers that she was not a threat, but a woman determined to build a new life. As the sun began to set, Amelia and Nikan approached the settlers' camp. Her heart pounded with anticipation, a mix of fear and determination filling her veins. She took a deep breath, drawing strength from the land around her, from the bond she shared with Nikan. They stepped into the clearing, the settlers' eyes turning toward them in surprise. Amelia felt a surge of confidence, a calm certainty that she was doing the right thing. She met their gaze, her expression steady and unwavering. Mr. Collins stepped forward, his eyes narrowing as he recognized Amelia. She saw the flash of fear in his eyes, the uncertainty that lay beneath his bravado. Amelia held his gaze, her voice steady as she spoke. She explained her journey, the lessons she had learned in the wilderness. She spoke of survival, of the strength she had found in herself. It was a powerful moment, a declaration of independence that resonated in the silence. The settlers listened, their expressions shifting from suspicion to something more thoughtful. Amelia felt a flicker of hope, a belief that she could change their minds. She spoke of the need for understanding, for seeing beyond fear and prejudice. Nikan stood by her side, his presence a silent testament to the power of unity. Together, they showed the settlers that there was another way, a path built on respect and resilience. It was a message that resonated, a truth that could not be ignored. As the night deepened, the settlers began to disperse, their mission of fear and suspicion replaced by a new understanding. Amelia felt a sense of relief, a weight lifting from her shoulders. She had faced her past and emerged stronger, more determined to build a future filled with hope. With Nikan by her side, Amelia knew she could face whatever challenges lay ahead. Together, they would continue their journey, their bond stronger than ever. The forest was their home, a place of healing and renewal. As they walked back into the trees, Amelia felt a quiet certainty. She had found her path, her place in the world. With Nikan's help, she would continue to build a life filled with promise and possibility. The future was bright, a tapestry of hope and resilience that stretched before her like a promise. The air was tense as Amelia and Nikan prepared for what lay ahead. The confrontation with the settlers had not ended their concerns, only shifted them into a different form. Amelia knew that fear could easily bring them back, and she was determined to be ready. Amelia and Nikan spent the next few days fortifying their camp, making it as secure as possible. They worked together, their movements synchronized and efficient. Amelia felt a sense of purpose, a determination to protect the life they had built. Nikan showed her how to set up simple alarms using string and small bells. The devices would alert them to any intruders, giving them time to prepare. Amelia marveled at his ingenuity, grateful for his knowledge and experience. They also gathered supplies, stocking up on food and water. Amelia knew that being prepared was key to their survival. She felt a growing confidence, a belief in her ability to face whatever challenges came their way. As they worked, Amelia thought about the settlers, about the fear that had driven them to seek her out. She understood their concerns, but she refused to let them dictate her life. She had come too far to be pushed back into the shadows. Nikan was a constant source of support, his presence a calming influence. He believed in her strength, in her ability to stand up for herself. Amelia drew strength from his faith, using it to fuel her resolve. One morning, as they gathered water from a nearby stream, Nikan suggested they practice with their bows. It was a skill Amelia had grown to love, a symbol of her independence and strength. She agreed, eager to hone her abilities. They set up targets, taking turns shooting arrows. Amelia's aim had improved greatly, her movements fluid and confident. She felt a sense of empowerment, a reminder of how far she had come. Nikan watched her with pride, his approval evident in his eyes. Amelia felt a warmth spread through her, a connection that filled her heart. She was no longer alone, but part of a partnership built on trust and respect. As they practiced, Amelia felt a growing sense of anticipation. She knew the settlers could return at any time, their fear driving them to confront her once more. But she was ready. She had faced fear before and emerged stronger. The forest was quiet, the air filled with the scent of pine and earth. Amelia felt a sense of peace, a calm certainty that she would not be swayed by fear. She had learned to trust herself, to listen to the voice of reason over the whispers of doubt. As the sun began to set, Amelia and Nikan returned to their camp, their spirits high. They sat by the fire, sharing a simple meal in companionable silence. Amelia felt a sense of contentment, a belief in the future they were building. That night, as she lay under the stars, Amelia thought about the journey that had brought her here. It had been filled with challenges and uncertainty, but it had also been a time of growth and discovery. She felt a deep sense of gratitude for the lessons she had learned, for the strength she had found. The next morning, Amelia awoke to the sound of bells ringing softly in the distance. Her heart skipped a beat, adrenaline surging through her veins. She rose quickly, alerting Nikan to the intruders. They moved silently through the forest, careful to stay hidden. Amelia's heart pounded in her chest, a mix of fear and determination propelling her forward. She would not be caught off guard, not again. As they approached the edge of the clearing, Amelia saw the settlers gathered, their expressions wary and uncertain. She took a deep breath, steadying herself. This was her chance to stand up for herself, to assert her place in the world. Nikan stayed by her side, his presence a source of strength. Together, they stepped into the clearing, facing the settlers with calm determination. Amelia met their gaze, her eyes steady and unwavering. Mr. Collins stepped forward, his expression a mix of fear and curiosity. Amelia held his gaze, her voice clear and strong as she addressed the group. She explained her journey, the lessons she had learned in the wilderness. She spoke of survival, of the strength she had found in herself. The settlers listened, their expressions shifting from suspicion to something more thoughtful. Amelia felt a flicker of hope, a belief that she could change their minds. She spoke of the need for understanding, for seeing beyond fear and prejudice. She showed them what she had learned, her skills with the bow, her knowledge of the land. It was a powerful moment, a demonstration of her resilience and determination. The settlers watched, their skepticism slowly giving way to respect. Amelia felt a sense of empowerment, a belief in her ability to shape her own destiny. She was no longer defined by the whispers of the past, but by the strength she had found in herself. It was a moment of triumph, a declaration of independence that resonated in the silence. As the sun began to set, the settlers began to disperse, their mission of fear and suspicion replaced by a new understanding. Amelia felt a sense of relief, a weight lifting from her shoulders. She had faced her past and emerged stronger, more determined to build a future filled with hope. With Nikan by her side, Amelia knew she could face whatever challenges lay ahead. Together, they would continue their journey, their bond stronger than ever. The forest was their home, a place of healing and renewal. As they walked back into the trees, Amelia felt a quiet certainty. She had found her path, her place in the world. With Nikan's help, she would continue to build a life filled with promise and possibility. The future was bright, a tapestry of hope and resilience that stretched before her like a promise. The days passed peacefully after the confrontation with the settlers. Amelia and Nikan returned to their routine, a rhythm of life that was both comforting and familiar. The forest was their sanctuary, a place where they had found healing and hope. Amelia felt a sense of accomplishment, a belief in the future she was building. The baby moved often, reminding her of the new life she carried. Each kick was a promise, a bond that filled her with joy and anticipation. She and Nikan worked together, their partnership a testament to the strength found in unity. They gathered food, prepared meals, and tended to their camp. It was a simple life, but one that brought Amelia deep satisfaction. One evening, as they sat by the fire, Amelia felt a sudden twinge of pain. It was sharp and unexpected, a reminder that the time was drawing near. She took a deep breath, steadying herself. Nikan noticed her discomfort, his eyes filled with concern. Amelia managed a reassuring smile, grateful for his support. She knew the birth was imminent, and she felt a mix of excitement and nervousness. It was a moment she had both feared and longed for, a turning point in her journey. As the days passed, the pains became more frequent until Amelia knew it was time. The realization filled her with a sense of calm, a belief in her ability to face the challenge. She was ready, her strength a testament to her journey. Nikan was by her side, his presence a source of comfort and reassurance. He had prepared a place for the birth, a small, sheltered area near their camp. It was a place of peace, a symbol of the new beginning they were about to experience. The labor was hard, each contraction a wave of intensity that tested Amelia's resolve. But she faced it with courage, drawing strength from the land around her, from the bond she shared with Nikan. She was not alone, and that knowledge gave her the strength to continue. Nikan supported her, his calm presence a beacon of stability. He offered her water, whispered words of encouragement, his belief in her unwavering. Amelia felt a deep gratitude, a connection that filled her heart with warmth. As the hours passed, the pain intensified, each contraction bringing the baby closer to the world. Amelia focused on her breathing, on the rhythm of her body. She was in tune with the process, a part of the natural cycle of life. When the baby finally arrived, Amelia felt a rush of relief and joy. She held the child in her arms, marveling at the tiny, perfect features. It was a moment of pure wonder, a culmination of her journey. Nikan watched, his expression filled with awe and tenderness. Amelia felt the strength of their bond, the connection that had grown between them. Together, they had created a new life, a testament to their resilience and hope. Amelia named the baby Hope, a symbol of the future they were building. It was a fitting name, a reminder of the journey that had brought her here. She felt a deep sense of peace, a belief in the promise of the future. As the days turned into weeks, Amelia and Nikan settled into their new life with hope. The forest was their home, a place of safety and renewal. Amelia felt a deep sense of contentment, a belief in the path she had chosen. Hope grew quickly, her laughter a joyful sound that filled the camp. She was a reminder of the strength found in new beginnings, a symbol of the resilience that had carried Amelia through her journey. Amelia watched her daughter with love, marveling at the life they had created. She felt a deep gratitude for Nikan's presence, for the partnership they had built. Together, they had created a family, a new kind of unity that transcended their pasts. Their days were filled with simple tasks, each one a part of the life they were building. Amelia felt a deep satisfaction, a belief in the future they were creating. The forest was their teacher, its lessons a constant source of wisdom. Amelia and Nikan found solace in each other's company, their bond a source of strength and comfort. They faced each challenge together, their partnership a testament to the power of unity. Amelia felt a deep sense of gratitude for the life they had built, for the journey that had brought them here. As the seasons changed, Amelia saw the world through new eyes, the beauty of nature a constant source of inspiration. She felt a deep connection to the land, a belief in the wisdom it offered. It was a way of life she cherished, a promise of the future she was building. One afternoon, as they sat together watching Hope play, Amelia reflected on her journey. She had faced fear and uncertainty, had been abandoned and alone, but she had found strength in herself, in the bond she shared with Nikan. She felt a deep sense of gratitude, a belief in the power of resilience and hope. Her journey had been one of healing and renewal, a testament to the strength found in unity. Together, they had built a life filled with promise and possibility. As the sun began to set, casting a warm glow over the land, Amelia felt a quiet certainty. She had found her place in the world, a path that was uniquely her own. With Nikan and Hope by her side, she would continue to build a future filled with hope and resilience. The forest was alive with the sounds of evening, a gentle lullaby that soothed her soul. As Amelia watched the stars appear, she felt a deep sense of peace, a belief in the promise of tomorrow. She had found her way, and the future was bright, a tapestry of hope and possibility that stretched before her like a promise. As time passed, Amelia, Nikan, and Hope settled into a life that was both peaceful and fulfilling. The forest was their home, a place that offered safety and abundance. Amelia felt a deep sense of contentment, a belief in the life they were building together. Hope grew quickly, her laughter a constant source of joy. She was curious about the world, eager to explore and learn. Amelia watched her daughter with love, marveling at the life they had created. She felt a deep gratitude for the journey that had brought them here, for the family they had become. Nikan was a constant presence, his guidance and support a steady influence in their lives. He taught Hope about the forest, about the plants and animals that shared their world. She listened with wide eyes, absorbing each lesson with enthusiasm. Amelia felt a deep connection to the land, a belief in the wisdom it offered. She had learned to see the world through Nikan's eyes, to understand the importance of living in harmony with nature. It was a lesson she cherished, a way of life that had given her purpose. Their days were filled with simple tasks, each one a part of the life they were building. Amelia felt a deep satisfaction, a belief in the future they were creating. The forest was their teacher, its lessons a constant source of wisdom. One day, as they gathered berries near a sunlit clearing, they encountered a group of travelers. Amelia felt a mix of curiosity and caution, memories of the settlers still fresh in her mind. But these people seemed different, their expressions open and friendly. The travelers were a mix of different backgrounds, their journey one of exploration and discovery. They spoke of other communities, places where people lived together in peace and cooperation. Amelia listened, intrigued by their stories. She felt a sense of connection, a recognition of the values they shared. The travelers spoke of unity, of the strength found in diversity. It was a message that resonated with Amelia, a belief she held close to her heart. As they talked, Amelia felt a growing sense of possibility. She realized that they were not alone, that there were others who shared their vision of a better world. It was a moment of revelation, a turning point in their journey. Nikan listened with interest, his expression thoughtful. He saw the potential in connecting with others, in building a community that valued humanity over division. It was an idea that appealed to him, a chance to create something lasting and meaningful. Together, Amelia and Nikan decided to invite the travelers to stay with them for a time. It was an opportunity to learn from each other, to share experiences and ideas. The travelers accepted gratefully, eager to exchange stories and knowledge. The days that followed were filled with laughter and conversation, a blending of cultures and traditions. Amelia felt a sense of belonging, a belief in the power of unity. She saw the potential for a community that celebrated diversity, a place where everyone was valued. Hope was delighted by the new arrivals, her curiosity boundless. She played with the children of the travelers, their laughter echoing through the forest. It was a joyful sight, a symbol of the future they were building. As they shared meals and stories, Amelia felt a deep sense of gratitude. She had found her place in the world, a path that was uniquely her own. With Nikan and hope by her side, she was building a future filled with hope and resilience. The travelers taught them new skills, lessons learned from their own journeys. Amelia was eager to learn, to expand her knowledge and abilities. It was a time of growth and discovery, a chance to build a life filled with promise and possibility. As the weeks passed, the bond between the two groups grew stronger. They worked together, helping each other with tasks and challenges. It was a partnership built on trust and respect, a testament to the strength found in unity. Amelia felt a deep sense of fulfillment, a belief in the life they were creating. She had faced fear and uncertainty, but had emerged stronger, more determined to build a future filled with hope. The forest was their home, a place of healing and renewal. Nikan shared his knowledge of the land, teaching the travelers about the plants and animals that shared their world. Amelia watched with pride, grateful for his wisdom and guidance. Together, they were creating a community that celebrated diversity and resilience. As the sun set on another day, Amelia reflected on the journey that had brought them here. She had found strength in herself, in the bond she shared with Nikan. Together, they had built a life filled with promise and possibility. The future was bright, a tapestry of hope and resilience that stretched before them like a promise. With Nikan and hope by her side, Amelia knew she could face whatever challenges lay ahead. Together, they would continue to build a life filled with hope and resilience. Years passed, and the community that Amelia, Nikan, and the travelers built continued to grow. The forest remained their home, a place that nurtured their new way of life. The settlement was a blend of different cultures and traditions, each person bringing their own strengths and stories. Amelia watched Hope grow, her daughter now a bright and curious child. Hope was a symbol of the future, a reminder of the journey that had brought them here. She was full of questions, eager to learn everything about the world around her. Amelia felt a deep sense of pride as she watched Hope play with the other children. They laughed and ran through the trees, their imaginations wild and free. It was a joyful sight, a testament to the life Amelia and Nikan had built. Nikan was a respected leader in the community, his wisdom and kindness guiding them through challenges. He taught the children about the land, showing them how to live in harmony with nature. Amelia admired his patience, his ability to bring people together. The seasons changed, each one bringing new tasks and challenges. The community worked together, planting crops, building shelters, and gathering food. It was a life of hard work, but one filled with deep satisfaction and a sense of purpose. Amelia had found her place in the community, a role that suited her skills and passions. She helped teach the children, sharing the lessons she had learned from Nikan and the forest. She felt a deep sense of fulfillment, a belief in the power of education and the potential of the next generation. As the years went by, Amelia often reflected on her journey. She had faced fear and uncertainty, but had emerged stronger, more determined to build a future filled with hope. She was grateful for the lessons she had learned, for the strength she had found in herself and in her community. One evening, as the community gathered around a large fire, Amelia felt a deep sense of peace. The fire crackled, sending sparks into the night sky. Amelia sat with Nikan and Hope, surrounded by their friends and neighbors. It was a moment of celebration, a time to reflect on their journey and the life they had created. Hope sat beside Amelia, her eyes wide with wonder as she listened to the stories being told. The elders shared tales of their past, of the challenges they had overcome. Each story was a reminder of the resilience and courage that had brought them here. Amelia listened, her heart full of gratitude. She had found her place in the world, a path that was uniquely her own. With Nikan and Hope by her side, she had built a life filled with promise and possibility. As the night wore on, the stars appeared overhead, a tapestry of light in the darkness. Amelia felt a deep connection to the universe, a belief in the promise of tomorrow. She had found her way and the future was bright. The community continued to grow, each new member bringing their own strengths and stories. Amelia marveled at the diversity, the blend of cultures and traditions that made them strong. It was a testament to the power of unity, a belief in the strength found in diversity. Amelia felt a deep sense of fulfillment, a belief in the life they were building. She had faced fear and uncertainty but had emerged stronger, more determined to build a future filled with hope. The forest was their home, a place of healing and renewal. As the years passed, Amelia watched Hope grow into a young woman, her spirit strong and her heart full of compassion. Hope was a leader in her own right, her kindness and wisdom guiding the next generation. Amelia felt a deep sense of pride, a belief in the promise of the future. Nikan remained a steady presence in their lives, his guidance and support a constant source of strength. Together, they faced each challenge, their bond growing stronger with each passing year. Amelia felt a deep sense of gratitude for his presence, for the love they shared. One day, as they walked through the forest, Amelia and Nikan paused to reflect on their journey. The path had not always been easy, but they had faced each challenge together. It was a journey of growth and discovery, a testament to the strength found in unity. Amelia felt a deep sense of peace, a belief in the promise of tomorrow. She had found her place in the world, a path that was uniquely her own. With Nikan and Hope by her side, she had built a life filled with promise and possibility. As they stood together watching the sun set over the forest, Amelia felt a quiet certainty. She had found her way and the future was bright, a tapestry of hope and resilience that stretched before her like a promise. The community continued to thrive, a blend of different cultures and traditions that celebrated diversity and unity. Amelia felt a deep sense of fulfillment, a belief in the life they were creating. It was a life of hope and resilience, a testament to the strength found in unity. With Nikan and Hope by her side, Amelia knew she could face whatever challenges lay ahead. Together, they would continue to build a life filled with hope and resilience. The future was bright, a promise of the life they had created together. If you loved the story, like the video and subscribe.